Okay, so last section of this half cycle. So this is the last thing that you will see on your summative, and then we'll spend the next couple of days just reviewing, preparing for the summative, and then actually taking the summative. And now remember, for this summative, different than maybe some of your other classes, is that we're going to try to do well on the actual summative so that we don't need to take the retest. The retest will still be an option, but I'm not dedicating any class time to it whatsoever. So if you need to retest, it has to be on your own time outside of our regular scheduled days. So maybe on a catch-up day, or just fitting in time to take the retest. Anyway, so for this one, we're going to go through just a couple and then the homework on the bottom for you to do. So Amy is taking a class that has 5 exams, each worth 100 points. After 4 exams, her average in the class is 80%. She tells her friend Phil, if I get a 100 on the last exam, my grade will be an A. 80 and 100 average to be 90, which is an A. Phil replies, no, that's not even possible for you to get an A in the class. Who is right and why? So to solve this one, we need to figure out what her overall grade will be after that last exam if she gets a 100%. Okay, so let's write down all that we know. So Amy right now had 4 exams. Okay. She already took 4 exams. After 4 exams, her average is 80. Okay. And each test is worth 100 points. Okay. So 4 exams worth 100 points each. So out of a possible 400 points, 4 tests times 100 points, 400 points, she has 80%. 80% of 400 is how many points? Means that she has 320 points so far. So this is points Amy has right now. What does she need to do on that 5th test? Now to get an A, we're saying that Amy needs to get a 90% in the class out of those 5 exams. So 90% of 500 points, which is 450 points. So she needs 450 points in order to get an A. Now, is that possible? If she's at 320, is it possible for her to get to 450? Okay, so we'll go 450, which is what an A would be, minus the 320 that she has, which will equal 130 points, is what she needs. Okay, can Amy do it? No, unfortunately, she can't do it because each exam is only worth 100 points and she needs 30 additional points. So Amy is not able to get an A in this class. Okay, now suppose her friend scores 90 out of 100 points on a test in a different class. What is his average in the course after the test if he had 60% of 100 possible points prior to the test? What if he had 60% of 900 points prior to this class? Okay, that was a lot. So let's break down. Remember, a percent is just a fraction. It's a part over a whole. And what is our part? The part is the points earned, and the whole is possible points. Okay, so suppose the friend scored 90 points out of a possible 100 points. What is the average in the course after the test if he had 60% of 100 possible points prior to the test? So we're going to add that to his 60% out of 100. And 60% of 100 points is 60 points. And that's where I got that number. I am answering this question right here. Okay, so 90 plus 60 is 150. Over 100 plus 100 is 200. So that means Amy's friend will have a 75%. Okay, now the second question is saying, what if he had 60 out of 900 possible points prior to this test? So we need to do a little converting. 60% of 900. So 60% of 900 is 540 points. Okay, because remember, I need points earned out of possible points. So I'm going to use that same test, the 90 points out of 100 points, and I'll add that to the 540 points he already has out of the possible 900 points. And I'm going to add them together. So we'll get 630 over 1,000. And if I make that into a percent, it's 63%. So that answers both the questions. I don't have to compare them or anything, just answer both parts there. And then moving on, in this blue section here, really good review on mean or average and how to calculate that, what that means. Moving on to number 3, 8 servers work at a restaurant and earn the following tips on a particular night. Read them for yourself. If their practice is to evenly share their tips, how much should each server receive? So for this, we're going to find the average for these tips, and that's how much each server is going to receive. So like in the example that the book gave you, mean is the sum of all the numbers divided by how many numbers you're adding together. So in this case, it's the 8 servers. So I'll show you how to do this quickly on Desmos. So I have Desmos just saved right here so I can bring it up when I need it. If we click on the first line, I hit functions over on the right-hand side. If I go to stats and mean right here, I kind of had it highlighted. I hit it quickly. We're just going to type in that list of numbers, that list of tips that they gave us. So 100, I don't know why it's highlighted. 100, then hit comma, $70.50, comma, 72, comma, 145. Okay, so I listed all of the tips that those 8 servers received, and it calculated my mean or my average right there. I think it's just slightly quicker, slightly easier. I really like using it. If you want to do it the old way where you add them all up, divide by 8, go for it. It's about a second longer than my method. But so if these servers were to split their tips evenly, each server would receive $88.03 at the end of the night. For number 4, 2 months into a biology course, Erin has taken 3 quizzes with these scores. Each are out of 10 points. An 8, an 8, and a 5. What is her average quiz score? Suppose on the 4th quiz, she scores 3 out of 10. Compute her new average. How does this low score affect her grade, and why is that? So we're going to first find the average quiz score. So we're going to go just 8 plus 5 divided by 3. Or you can use Desmos. Again, functions, stats, mean. It's 8, 8, 5. So her average quiz score was 7. Well, now we're adding in a new score, which is going to be 3 out of 10 points. So I have 8 plus 8 plus 5 plus 3, this time divided by 4. Or if you're using Desmos, you just add in a comma, 3. I think that's a little bit quicker, but totally up to you. And it looks like her new average is a 6. So by getting this low score, it obviously lowered her average. Hopefully that wasn't a shocking new twist to math here for you where you're like, what? How did that happen? I don't understand. If you get a low score, it's going to bring your overall grade down. The sticky note, I think, speaks truth and volumes. So please read that. Do well now, less stress in the end when you're trying to scramble and raise your grade. Moving on to, where are we going? We're going to skip number 5. Here is a good little reminder on midpoint. If you haven't ever noticed in your mathematical careers in high school and middle school, midpoint is just an average. It's the average between your 2 points. It's the average of your x values and the average of your y values. So you take your 2 x's, find the average. Take your 2 y's, find the average. Just add them up, divide by 2. Okay? And then they drew a picture for you. All right, so number 6, find the midpoint of the line segment that connects -3/4, comma -5 to 1/2, comma 4. Plot both points and their midpoint on the graph provided. Well, they gave you a pretty crummy graph to use because that's a really small graph, but we'll try our best. Okay, -3/4, so not quite all the way to 1, down to -5. So that's point A. We'll just label it point A. And then the second point, obviously point B, 1/2, comma 4. So right here. We need to find the midpoint. All right, so if I connected these 2 points, let's find that midpoint. It looks like it would probably happen here, but I know that my drawing is probably totally atrocious, and that's not even close to where it is. All right, so we're going to do the average of the x and the average of the y. Okay, so we're going to add up our 2 x's, divide by 2. -3/4 plus 1/2 divided by 2. All right, maybe I'll just go back to this mean button. I'll type in -3/4, throw in a parenthesis, 1/2. All right. Oh, they gave me a decimal. I didn't want a decimal. Okay, we're going to hit that fraction button. They gave me a fraction. And isn't Desmos so awesome? I know, totally, right? Okay. Here's our x value, -1/8. And then for our y value, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to add up my 2 y values and divide by 2. So -5 plus 4 divided by 2. I don't really need a calculator for this one. -5 plus 4 is -1 divided by 2. So -1/2. If you want to use your calculator, go for it, but it's going to take me too long. Okay, so now my midpoint is going to be -1/8, that x value, comma, the y value, which is -1/2. And I'm not even going to attempt to graph that. Oh, it tells me to. Oh, man, I do have to graph that. Okay, so, like, down here-ish is my midpoint. I don't know why I drew that tick there. That was nowhere even close to halfway. Okay, well, there's my midpoint. Average of the x's, average of the y's.